My ladies, gather round the fire. Ever wonder what happens when a scrappy Detroit nurse takes on a hospital full of assholes and comes out swinging? I'm your old pal, Mr. John Doe, 58, straight out of New York. Gray hair, bad knees, and a mouth that's still got some fight in it. Picture me with a whiskey, talking shit like we're back at the diner, laughing till we're damn near crying. Tonight's tale's about May Delaney, a single mom who kicked the system's ass and maybe stole a heart or two. It's got guts, heart, and a few punches, my kind of story. So, grab your wine, hit that subscribe button to keep up with my rambling, and drop a comment who's your favorite underdog. Let's get this party rolling. The operating room at St. Joseph's Hospital in Detroit was a frozen slice of chaos, lit up like a goddamn spaceship under sterile white lights. Machines beeped like a heartbeat you could set your watch to, and the air stank of antiseptic and sweat. May Delaney stood at the edge of the table, her navy scrubs clinging to her back, her hands steady, but her chest tight as a drum. On the table lay Lila Carter, 16, her face pale as the sheet beneath her, chestnut curls tucked under a surgical cap. The monitor screamed Lila's heart rate was tanking, a jagged line plunging toward silence. Clamp Dr. Graham Whitaker's voice cut through the noise, sharp as a scalpel. His gloved hands moved fast, precise, like he was conducting some brutal symphony. His eyes flicked up, meeting May's through the observation glass. She wasn't supposed to be here, not in the OR, but she'd fought to stay. Her sneakers rooted to the floor. "Delaney," he said, low but firm. "Talk to me." She's stable. May's throat was dry as sandpaper, but she forced the words out. BP's dropping 90 over 60. She's not responding. Her fingers twitched, wanting to do something, anything, but she was just a nurse, not a surgeon. Still, Lila was her kid, the one she'd sat with through panic attacks and bad jokes. She whispered, "Come on, Lila. You're tougher than this." Graham's jaw tightened under his mask. "Epi." Now, a scrub nurse scrambled, syringe flashing. 90 seconds stretched like a lifetime, the room holding its breath. Then a beep, another. The monitor steadied, Lila's heart clawing back to life. Graham exhaled, his shoulders easing a fraction. He looked at May again, a nod so slight you'd miss it if you blinked. "Good call, Delaney," he said. "You caught it early." May's knees wobbled, but she locked them, her eyes stinging. She didn't trust herself to speak. Not yet. The OR buzzed back to life sutures, orders, the clink of metal. But for 1 second, the world was just her, Graham, and the girl they'd pulled back from the edge. That's when it started. This thing that had turned her life upside down. But to get there, you gotta go back 24 hours, to a night when Detroit's rain wouldn't quit, and May Delaney was just trying to survive. The rain hammered St. Joe's like it was personal, drumming the windows and turning the parking lot into a slick, neon-lit swamp. Inside, the hospital was a different kind of storm, stretchers rattling, phones shrilling, the ER a circus of drunks, flu cases, and a guy who'd stapled his hand to a 2x4. May Delaney, 32, was 3 hours past the end of her shift, but still hauling ass through the chaos. Her ponytail was a mess, her scrubs creased, and the granola bar in her pocket was more dust than food. 22 hours on her feet, and the only thing keeping her upright was black coffee and sheer stubbornness. She ducked into the break room at 1:17 a.m., the fluorescent lights buzzing like they were pissed to be awake. The place was a dump cracked linoleum, a coffee maker that smelled like burnt regret, and a vending machine that'd steal your quarters faster than a slot machine. May collapsed into a plastic chair, knees pulled to her chest, her name badge, May Delaney, RN, dangling like it was tired too. On the table was a crayon drawing from her daughter, Ruby, a stick figure May in scrubs, holding a heart. Love you. Mommy. May's chest ached. Ruby was 8, probably asleep at the neighbors, wondering why her mom was never home. She didn't mean to sleep, didn't even close her eyes on purpose. But exhaustion hit like a freight train, and her head lolled against the wall, the world fading to black. That's how Dr. Graham Whitaker found her sprawled like a kid who'd lost a fight with a math test. One sneaker half off, a hospital blanket slipping to the floor. Graham, 38, wasn't supposed to be there either. He'd finished rounds hours ago, but came back for a chart he'd left behind. A habit born of sleepless nights and a life that felt emptier than he'd admit. Tall, lean, with dark hair graying at the temples, he carried himself like a man who owned the room but didn't care to. His tailored scrubs and $1,000 watch screamed money. But his eyes sharp. Guarded said something else. He thrived in the quiet, the kind he could control. Not this messy, human kind. He froze mid-step, the door creaking shut behind him. May's face was half-turned, chestnut hair loose across her cheek, her breathing soft but uneven. He didn't know her. Not really. Just a name on charts. A figure hustling through halls, but something about her curled up, unguarded, worn to the bone, hit him like a punch he didn't see coming. He cleared his throat. Not loud, but enough. May jolted awake. A sharp inhale like she'd been caught stealing. Her hazel eyes flew open, wild, then locked on his. Shit, she muttered, scrambling upright, the blanket hitting the floor. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. She blinked, clocking his badge. Dr. G. Whitaker. Cardiothoracic surgery. Her stomach dropped. Dr. Whitaker. I was just between patients. Won't happen again. Graham crossed his arms, brow furrowed, his silence heavier than a gavel. You're on trauma tonight, he asked, voice low, like he was measuring her. She nodded, shoving her sneaker back on. Started yesterday. Picked up an extra shift. Her voice was steady, but her hands betrayed her, fussing with her badge. How long you been on your feet? He stepped closer, his shadow falling over the table. May hesitated, then shrugged. 20, maybe 22 hours. She braced for the lecture, the write-up, the kind of shit that'd make her life harder than it already was. Instead, Graham exhaled. A sound more disappointed than pissed, but not at her. But not. This goddamn hospital, he muttered, still thinks burnout's a personality trait. He turned to the coffee maker, its sludge older than some interns, and poured 2 cups. He slid one to her, not looking at her. Drink. Tastes like ass. But it's hot. May blinked, caught off guard. Thanks. She took the cup, the warmth seeping into her palms. He sat across from her, his gaze steady but softer now, like he was seeing past the scrubs. "You're May Delaney," he said. "Not a question. I saw your chart on 407. Caught a pulmonary embolism before radiology did." She shrugged, sipping the coffee, wincing at the taste. Lucky guess. "No such thing in medicine," he said, leaning back. A beat passed, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Single mom. Right, Ruby. Saw her drawings in your locker. Kid's got a hell of an eye, bold colors. No bullshit." May's guard went up, her spine stiffening. Most doctors didn't know nurses' names, let alone their kids. "Yeah, she's something else." She set the cup down, wary. "Why are you here, Dr. Whitaker? Middle of the night, chatting up a nurse?" He looked at her, like she'd asked something bigger than she meant. "Same reason you are," he said finally. "Work's easier than sleep." His voice carried weight, like he'd said too much. May studied him, catching the faint lines around his eyes, the kind you earn from nights that don't end. The silence wasn't awkward, just heavy, like the air before a storm. She stood, grabbing her badge. "I gotta get back. Patients don't wait." She was halfway to the door when he spoke again. "How long you been pulling doubles like this?" She paused, hand on the knob. "Since Ruby's dad bailed. 4 years. Give or take." Her voice was flat, daring him to pity her. Graham nodded, slow, like he was piecing her together. That long in survival mode. May turned, meeting his eyes, her own sparking. "You diagnosing me now, Doc?" She didn't smile, but her tone wasn't hostile, just tired. He didn't flinch, just observing. A flicker of something respect, maybe crossed his face. "I'm not reporting this, Delaney. But if someone else catches you like this, they won't be so chill." She tilted her head, sizing him up. "And why are you chill?" He paused, then said, "Quiet. Because sometimes the ones who look like they're breaking are the ones holding it all together." With that, he grabbed his chart and walked out, leaving her in the hum of the break room, coffee cooling in her hands. May sank back into the chair, her heart racing. Not from fear, but from something she couldn't name. She didn't know what the hell just happened, but it felt like a door had cracked open, and she wasn't sure if she wanted to step through. 24 hours later, the world was a different beast. May was back in the ER, triaging a car crash victim, when Lila Carter's chart popped up. Lila, her favorite patient, had been in and out of St. Joe's for years. A kid with a bad heart and a worse attitude, always cracking jokes to hide her fear. May had spent hours with her, talking about everything from TikTok to the assholes at school who called her sick girl. That morning, Lila had come in short of breath, her lips faintly blue. May caught it too early. The kind of call that'd get you a pat on the back if you were a doctor, not a nurse. By midnight, Lila was crashing. May was the one who sounded the alarm, shoving past a sleepy resident to get her to the OR. Now, standing outside the glass, watching Graham fight for Lila's life. May felt like her own heart was on that table. She'd promised Lila she'd be okay. Promised her mom. Promised herself. But promises didn't mean shit when a kid's heart stopped. The OR was a blur. Graham's hands steady, the team moving like a machine. When the monitor finally stabilized, May's legs nearly gave out. She pressed her forehead to the glass, whispering, "Thank you." She didn't know who she was thanking God, Graham, or just dumb luck. As the team cleared out, Graham stepped into the hall, peeling off his mask. He looked wrecked, but the good kind, the kind that comes from winning a fight you shouldn't have. "She's stable," he said, voice rough. "You caught it. Delaney. That's on you." May shook her head, her throat tight. I couldn't lose her." Her voice cracked, and she hated it, hated showing weakness in front of him. Graham studied her, his eyes softer than in the break room. "You didn't." He hesitated, then added, "You're good, May. Better than most." He turned to leave, but not before their eyes locked again. A moment too long, too raw. May stayed there, alone in the hall, the hospital's hum swallowing her thoughts. She pulled Ruby's drawing from her pocket, tracing the heart with her thumb. She was bone-tired, scared, and something else. Something that felt like hope, or maybe trouble, or maybe... Either way, she wasn't the same nurse who'd walked in last night. Back in the break room, dawn creeping through the blinds. May sat with Ruby's drawing, her coffee cold. Graham walked in, chart in hand, pausing when he saw her. "You still here?" he asked, almost gentle. "Yeah," she said, voice soft. "Someone's gotta hold this place together." "Right?" He didn't smile, but his eyes did, just a little. "You saved her. Delaney. Don't forget that." He left, the door swinging shut. And May felt it again, that crack in the door. That shift she couldn't unfeel. If May's fight to save Lila got your heart racing, hit that subscribe button and drop a 1 in the comments. If you think she's in over her head, give me a 2. Either way, tell me what you feel. This story's just getting started, and I want to hear your voice. The fluorescent lights in St. Joseph's Hospital flickered like they were auditioning for a horror movie, casting jagged shadows across the ER's linoleum floor. It was a Thursday night in Detroit, the kind where the city's pulse beat hard, car horns blaring, sirens wailing, and the air thick with the smell of wet asphalt and diesel. Inside, the hospital was a pressure cooker, a kid with a broken arm screaming in Bay 3, a drunk guy cursing at a security guard, and a nurse short because someone called in sick again. May Delaney, still wired from Lila Carter's surgery 2 days ago, hustled through the chaos, her scrubs wrinkled, her ponytail fraying like her patience. She was charting at the nurse's station, her pen scratching out vitals for a pneumonia case. When Patrice Jackson slid in beside her, coffee mug in hand, Patrice, 45, was a St. Joe's legend, tough as nails, with a laugh that could cut through concrete and eyes that missed nothing. "Girl, you look like you're running on fumes and spite," Patrice said, leaning on the counter. "When's the last time you slept more than a cat nap?" May didn't look up, her pen moving faster. "Sleep's overrated. I got bills to pay and a kid to feed." Her voice was light, but the weight behind it was real. Ruby's school had sent a note about behavior issues yesterday. Nothing serious. Just her acting out in class. May hadn't had time to call the teacher back, and the guilt was eating her alive. Patrice raised an eyebrow, sipping her coffee. Uh-huh. And that little moment with Dr. Whitaker in the OR. Don't think I didn't hear about you two saving Lila Carter like some damn superhero duo. People are talking. May's pen froze mid-stroke. Talking about what I did my job. Her hazel eyes flicked up, sharp, daring Patrice to push. Patrice smirked, unfazed. Oh, they ain't talking about your job, honey. They're talking about Whitaker's eyes on you. All soft and shit. Tammy Nguyen's already spinning tales says you're cozying up to the big shot to climb the ladder. May's jaw clenched, her fingers tightening around the pen. Tammy, another nurse on their shift, was a decent worker but had a mouth that ran like a leaky faucet. Tammy can kiss my ass, May muttered, slamming the chart shut. I don't have time for this high school bullshit. High school never ends in a hospital, Patrice said, her voice softer now. You know that. Just watch your back. Whitaker's a golden boy, $1 million hands, $1 million name. People see him noticing you. They're gonna sharpen their knives. Before May could respond, a page crackled over the intercom code blue. Room 412. She was on her feet in a second, adrenaline kicking in. The gossip shoved to the back of her mind, but as she sprinted down the hall, Patrice's warning stuck like gum on her shoe. The next morning, May was in the cafeteria, picking at a soggy turkey sandwich. When Dr. Graham Whitaker walked in, he didn't saunter like some doctors, all ego and swagger. He moved like he owned the space without trying, tall, lean, his dark hair a little messy from a long night, his scrubs crisp despite the hour. He grabbed a coffee and a banana, then, to May's surprise, slid into the seat across from her. Morning. Delaney, he said, his voice low, like they were sharing a secret. You look like you could use something stronger than that sandwich. May's guard went up, her fork pausing midair. What? You my dietitian now? Doc. She kept her tone light, but her eyes were wary, scanning him for motive. After their break room run-in and Lila's surgery, she didn't know what to make of him. He wasn't like the other surgeons, all cold orders and god complexes. He saw her, and that scared the hell out of her. Graham peeled his banana, unfazed. Just an observation. You're pulling doubles again, aren't you? She shrugged, poking at her sandwich. Gotta keep the lights on. Ruby's school ain't cheap, even with the shitty public funding. She regretted the words as soon as they left her mouth, too personal, too raw. He nodded, like he got it, though she doubted he did. Guys like him didn't worry about electric bills or school lunches. You're good, May, he said, his eyes steady. Better than good. I've seen your work. Lila's mom was a mess, and you had her calm in 5 minutes. That's not just nursing. That's something else. May's cheeks warmed, but she brushed it off. Just doing my job. Don't need a gold star. She stood, ready to bolt. But his next words stopped her cold. I'm putting your name in for the Community Care Connect program. Patient-family liaison. You'd be perfect. Her stomach did a flip. Part excitement, part dread. The program was new, a big deal bridging gaps for patients who fell through the cracks, especially in Detroit's rougher neighborhoods. It meant more responsibility, more visibility, maybe even a raise. But it also meant stepping into a spotlight she'd spent years avoiding. "Why me?" she asked, her voice sharper than she meant. Plenty of nurses with fancier resumes. Graham leaned back, his gaze unflinching. "Because you give a damn. Most people fake it. You don't." He stood, tossing his banana peel in the trash. "Think about it. I'm sending the wreck to Carlton today." He walked out, leaving May rooted to the spot, her sandwich forgotten. Dean Carlton was the hospital administrator, a slick suit with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. If Graham was vouching for her, it was real. But Patrice's warning echoed. "They're gonna sharpen their knives. By noon." The whispers had started. May was restocking a crash cart in the ER when she caught Tammy and Gwyn and another nurse. Sarah, huddled by the medroom. Tammy's voice was low but clear. "She sleeps through a shift. Now she's up for a promotion. Bet she's got Whitaker wrapped around her finger." Sarah snickered. "What's she got that we don't? A kid and a sob story." May's blood boiled, her hands shaking as she shoved a syringe pack into the cart. She stepped around the corner, her voice cutting like a blade. "You got something to say. Tammy, say it to my face. Don't skulk around like a damn rat." Tammy froze, her cheeks flushing. "I didn't mean look. May, we're just saying it's weird. Whitaker's all over you. And now this. Come on, there's no this," May snapped, stepping closer. "I work my ass off. Same as you. Difference is, I don't waste breath trashing people who don't deserve it." She turned on her heel, her heart pounding, but not before catching Sarah's smirk. This wasn't over. In the locker room, Patrice found her slamming her locker shut. "Heard you gave Tammy a piece of your mind," Patrice said, leaning against the wall. "Good. She's been running her mouth too long." May exhaled, rubbing her temples. "It's not just her. It's everyone. They think I'm screwing my way to the top. I didn't ask for Whitaker's help." Patrice crossed her arms, her eyes narrowing. "No. But you got it. And that's what burns them. You're not just a nurse to him, May. He sees you. And that scares the shit out of people who want you invisible." May sank onto the bench, her anger deflating into exhaustion. "I don't want his spotlight. Patrice, I just want to do my job, go home to Ruby, and not feel like I'm drowning." Patrice sat beside her, her voice softer. "You've been drowning for years. Girl, maybe it's time to swim. Whitaker's not the enemy here. The system is. Don't let Tammy's petty ass drag you down." May nodded, but the weight didn't lift. She thought of Ruby, waiting at the neighbors, her backpack stuffed with homework and disappointment. She hadn't called the teacher back, hadn't even checked Ruby's latest drawing. What kind of mom was she? That night, May dragged herself home to their cramped apartment in Hamtramck, a working-class neighborhood where the air smelled of grilled onions from the Polish diner downstairs. The place was a mess. Ruby's toys on the floor, dishes in the sink, a stack of overdue bills on the counter. Ruby was asleep on the couch, her curls a tangle, a half-eaten pizza slice on the coffee table. May knelt beside her, brushing a strand from her face. "I'm sorry, kiddo," she whispered. "I'm trying." She pulled Ruby's latest drawing from her bag, May in scrubs, standing alone under a gray sky. No hearts, no smiles. May's throat tightened. Ruby was acting out at school because she felt invisible, just like May did at St. Joe's. She tucked the drawing away, promising herself she'd fix this, somehow. The next day, the pressure cranked up. May was in the cardiac wing, checking Lila's chart, when Dr. Eva Monroe, a senior cardiologist, cornered her. Eva was mid-40s, all sharp cheekbones and sharper words, her white coat pristine. "Ms. Delaney," she said, her voice cool as ice. "I hear you're being considered for Community Care Connect. Impressive, for someone so junior." May kept her eyes on the chart, her pulse spiking. "Just doing my job. Dr. Monroe." Eva's smile was thin, like a blade. "Of course. Though I'd caution against relying on personal endorsements. The board prefers experience, not enthusiasm." She walked away, her heels clicking like a countdown. May's hands shook as she closed the chart. Eva wasn't just throwing shade, she was drawing a line. If May stepped up, she'd be stepping into a fight she wasn't sure she could win. Lila's room was a bright spot in the gray of St. Joe's, her bed covered in get-well cards and a stuffed octopus May had snuck in. The kid was awake, her oxygen mask off, her grin weak but real. "You look like crap, May," Lila teased, her voice raspy. "Rough night," May forced a smile. "Adjusting Lila's IV. Says the girl who scared the hell out of us. How you feeling?" "Tough guy." Lila shrugged, her eyes dropping. "Okay, I guess. School's gonna suck. Though, kids keep texting me sick girl memes. Assholes." Her bravado cracked, and May saw the hurt underneath. "Hey," May said, sitting on the bed. "Those kids, they're just loud because they're small. You're bigger than them. Lila, write it down your story, your way. Don't let them own it." Lila nodded, grabbing a notebook from her bedside. "You ever feel like that? Like everyone's waiting for you to fail?" May's chest tightened, thinking of Tammy, Eva. The whispers. "Every damn day," she admitted. "But you keep going. That's how you win." Lila's smile was small but real. "You're kinda badass. You know that." May laughed, the sound easing the knot in her gut. "Yeah, well, don't tell anyone. I got a rep to protect." Back in the ER, May was restocking syringes when Dean Carlton's voice slithered over the intercom. "May Delaney. To admin. Please." Her stomach dropped. Dean, the hospital's head suit, didn't call nurses to his office for coffee and donuts. She glanced at Patrice, who gave her a look. "You got this, but be ready." Dean's office was all glass and ego, overlooking Detroit's skyline, the city's grit softened by distance. He was 50, gray suit, gray hair, gray soul, his smile too polished. "Ms. Delaney," he said, gesturing to a chair. "Dr. Whitaker speaks highly of you, says you're a fit for Community Care Connect." May sat, her hands clasped tight. "I'm honored, sir, but I'm just a nurse." "Why me?" Dean leaned back, his fingers steepled. "You're direct. I like that. The program needs someone who connects with patients, someone like you. But let's be clear, this role comes with eyes on you. Lots of them. You ready for that?" May's mouth went dry. She thought of Tammy's whispers, Eva's warning, Ruby's drawing. "I'm ready to work." she said, her voice steady. "The rest I'll handle it." Dean's smile didn't budge. Good. Because when Whitaker vouches for someone, it carries weight. Don't make him regret it. He dismissed her, but his words lingered like a threat. Outside, May leaned against the wall, her breath uneven. The hospital's hum beeps, footsteps. Pages felt like it was closing in. She'd wanted to stay invisible, to do her job and go home. But Graham's faith, Lila's trust, even Patrice's push, they were pulling her somewhere new, somewhere scary. And the whispers, they were getting louder. That night, May got a text from an unknown number. "Careful, Delaney. Not everyone loves a teacher's pet." She deleted it, but her hands shook. Someone was watching, and they weren't playing nice. She looked at Ruby's drawing on her fridge, the gray sky heavier than ever. "I'm trying, kid," she whispered. "I'm trying." The Detroit Athletic Club glowed like a damn jewel box against the city's gritty skyline, its brick facade lit up with amber lanterns that screamed old money. Inside, the grand ballroom was a sea of sequins and tuxedos, the air thick with the clink of champagne flutes and the low hum of jazz from a live quartet. May Delaney stood at the entrance, her navy gown hugging her frame like a borrowed skin, her heart pounding so hard she swore it'd bruise her ribs. She didn't belong here, not among these doctors, donors, and suits who tossed around words like endowment and legacy like they were ordering coffee. But the invitation from the Whitaker Foundation slipped into her locker with her name in gold embossing. Had been clear she was expected. May smoothed the dress. A loaner from Patrice that cost more than her monthly rent. Her hair was swept into a low bun, a few strands loose around her face, and her makeup slapped on in the hospital bathroom felt like war paint. She took a breath, the kind you take before jumping into deep water, and stepped inside. Heads turned. Not many, but enough. Whispers followed, sharp as needles. Who's she? Whitaker's new project nurse. Right. She grabbed a flute of champagne from a passing waiter, more for something to hold than to drink, and scanned the room. Graham Whitaker was at the far end, surrounded by suits, his black tuxedo tailored to perfection, his dark hair catching the light. He was talking, gesturing with that quiet intensity that made people lean in, but his eyes found hers across the crowd. For a second, the room blurred, and it was just them, him in his world, her in hers, and a thread pulling them closer. May a familiar voice cut through the haze. Clara Delaney, her older sister, weaved through the crowd, her red dress bold against her dark skin, her grin wide as the Detroit River. Clara lived in Chicago, a social worker with a knack for showing up when May needed her most. "Holy shit, you look like you stepped out of a magazine," Clara said, pulling her into a hug. "Your nervous understatement," May muttered, her grip on the champagne tightening. "I feel like a fish in a shark tank." Clara laughed, her eyes sparkling. "Good. Let 'em see you swim. You don't need to prove a damn thing to these people. May, just be you." She squeezed May's arm, then nodded toward Graham. "Your boy's looking this way. Go make trouble." "He's not my boy," May hissed, but Clara was already gone, melting into the crowd with a wink. May took a sip of champagne, the bubbles sharp on her tongue. and made her way toward Graham, dodging elbows and fake smiles. Her sneakers hidden under the gown felt like the only honest thing about her. "Delaney," Graham said as she reached him, his voice warm but professional. He excused himself from the group, his eyes locking on hers. "You made it. You look—" He paused, searching for the word, his gaze softening, stunning. May's cheeks burned. But she played it cool. "You clean up all right yourself. Doc. Didn't know you owned anything besides scrubs." She gestured at his tux, trying to ignore how it fit him like a second skin. He smirked, a rare crack in his usual calm. "I make exceptions for good causes. Come on, let me introduce you." He offered his arm, and she hesitated, feeling every eye in the room. She took it, her hand light on his sleeve, and let him guide her through the crowd. He introduced her to donors, old guys with Rolexes, women with diamonds that could sink a ship as May Delaney, the heart of our new Community Care Connect program. She nodded, smiled, said the right things, but the weight of their stares made her skin crawl. "What's a nurse doing here?" their eyes asked. "What's she got on Whitaker?" The tension broke when Dr. Eva Monroe appeared, a vision in a deep red gown, her curls sculpted like art. She glided over, champagne in hand, her smile as sharp as a scalpel. "May," she said, her voice smooth but laced with venom. "Lovely to see you. Quite the unexpected guest." May's grip on Graham's arm tightened, but she matched Eva's smile. "Guess I'm full of surprises." "Dr. Monroe, nice dress. Bet it cost more than my car." Eva's smile faltered for a breath, then sharpened. "Oh, it's all for charity. Speaking of, I hear you're being considered for Community Care Connect. Bold choice, considering your background." Her eyes flicked to Graham, then back to May. The implication clear. You're here because of him. Before May could fire back, the MC tapped the mic, calling for attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to celebrate the Whitaker Foundation's commitment to Detroit's health. Let's hear from our rising stars." The crowd clapped, and to May's horror, the MC gestured toward their group. "Dr. Monroe, Ms. Delaney, care to share a few words?" May's stomach dropped. She hadn't prepared a speech, hadn't even known she'd be noticed. Eva stepped forward, all grace, and took the mic. "Thank you," she said, her voice commanding. "The Foundation's work is vital, and I'm honored to support it with my expertise." She spoke for a minute, all polished buzzwords, then turned to May, her smile a challenge. "Ms. Delaney." The room went quiet, the weight of 100 eyes pressing down. May's mouth was dry, her heart a jackhammer. Graham leaned in, his voice low. "You got this, May. Just tell them why you're here." His faith was a lifeline, but it also scared her because what if she wasn't enough? She took the mic, her hand steady despite the tremor in her gut. "I'm not big on speeches," she started, her voice rough but clear. "I'm a nurse. I spend my nights cleaning puke, holding hands, telling scared moms their kids are going to be okay. I don't have fancy degrees or a corner office, but I've got 12 years of seeing people at their worst and still believing they deserve better." She paused, her eyes finding Lila's mom in her mind, her voice steadying. "There's a girl in this hospital Lila Carter, 16, fighting a bad heart and worse odds. She's why I'm here. Not for me. Not for anyone else, just for people like her who need someone to fight for them. That's what this program's about. That's all I've got. The room was silent for a heartbeat, then erupted in applause, louder than for Eva. May handed the mic back, her legs shaky, and stepped into the crowd. Graham's hand brushed her arm, his voice low. You didn't just speak, Delaney. You owned it. Eva's eyes narrowed from across the room, her champagne untouched. May felt the sting of her stare, but held her head high. She'd drawn a line, and there was no going back. The night took a softer turn when the quartet struck up a slow tune, couples drifting to the dance floor. Graham turned to May, his hand extended. "Dance with me," he said. Not a question, but an offer, his eyes warm in the low light. May hesitated, her pulse racing. Here in front of all these people, she glanced at the crowd, their whispers already sharpening. "Right here," he said, his voice steady. "Right now." She took his hand, her fingers calloused against his smooth palm, and let him lead her to the floor. The music wrapped around them, a slow jazz number that felt like a heartbeat. Graham's hand rested on her waist, light but sure, and she followed his lead, her sneakers silent under the gown. For a moment, it was just them, the room fading. The whispers drowned out. "You don't seem like a dancer," she said, her voice soft, almost teasing. "I'm not," he admitted, his lips twitching. Until now. His eyes held hers, and she felt it, that pull, dangerous and real, like stepping too close to a fire. The spell broke when Dean Carlton appeared, his gray suit cutting through the crowd like a shark. "Whitaker," he said, his voice all charm but his eyes cold. A word he glanced at May, his smile tight and "Excuse us, Ms. Delaney." Graham's jaw tightened, but he nodded, letting go of her hand. May stepped back, her skin prickling as she caught Dean's words, low but clear. "Careful, Graham. She's a liability to your name." She didn't hear Graham's response, but his posture stiff, defensive told her enough. He was fighting for her, and it hurt as much as it helped. May slipped to the bar, ordering a whiskey to steady her nerves. Clara found her, her red dress a beacon. "You killed that speech, sis," she said, leaning on the counter. "But you look like you just saw a ghost." "Not a ghost," May said, sipping the whiskey, the burn grounding her. "Just the truth. They don't want me here." "Clara." "Not really." Clara's eyes softened. "They don't get to decide that. You do. You're not some nurse playing dress-up. You're May fucking Delaney. Don't forget it." She clinked her glass against May's, and for a moment, May believed her. The next morning, May's head throbbed, not from whiskey but from the weight of the night. She'd barely slept, her mind replaying the speech, the dance, Dean's words. She dragged herself to Ruby's school for a parent-teacher meeting, her scrub swapped for jeans and a hoodie, her eyes red from exhaustion. The teacher, a kind woman named Ms. Patel, was gentle but firm. "Ruby's struggling," Ms. Delaney. She's quiet, withdrawn. Yesterday, she threw away a drawing she worked on for weeks. May's heart sank. What kind of drawing? Ms. Patel handed her a crumpled paper from her desk. May in scrubs, standing alone under a gray sky. No hearts, no smiles. She said, "You're always at work." Miss Patel said softly, "She misses you." May clutched the drawing, her throat tight. "I'm trying," she said, her voice breaking. "I'm doing this for her." "I know," Ms. Patel said, "but she needs to know that too. At home." May found Ruby on the couch, her backpack spilling markers and homework. "Hey, kiddo," May said, sitting beside her. "I'm sorry I've been gone so much. I messed up." Ruby didn't look at her, her small hands twisting a marker. "You're always at the hospital. Do you even like being my mom?" The words hit like a punch, stealing May's breath. "Ruby," she said, pulling her close. "You're the best thing I've ever done. I'm gonna do better." "Okay, pizza night. Just us. Tomorrow. I promise." Ruby nodded, but her eyes were guarded, and May knew promises weren't enough anymore. Back at St. Joe's, May was checking Lila's chart when her phone buzzed an email from Graham. "Chicago Healthcare Summit next week. You're invited to speak on Community Care Connect. Say yes." Her heart raced, excitement warring with fear. Chicago was bigger than a gala, bigger than Detroit. But Ruby's words echoed. "Do you even like being my mom?" She found Patrice in the break room, pouring coffee that smelled like tar. "Whitaker wants me in Chicago," May said, holding up her phone. "Some summit? Me? Speaking? Is he crazy?" Patrice grinned, handing her a mug. "Crazy like a fox. He sees what I see, a badass who's gonna shake this place up. You going?" May stared at the email, Ruby's drawing burning a hole in her pocket. "I don't know," she said. "I can't keep screwing up with Ruby. And the whispers, they're getting worse." Patrice's eyes hardened. "Let him whisper. You didn't come this far to hide. May, go to Chicago. Show him what you're made of. Ruby'll be proud." May nodded, her finger hovering over the reply button. She typed, "I'm in," and hit send. Her heart a mix of fire and fear. The gala had been a battle. Chicago would be a war. And she wasn't sure she was ready. The Chicago Healthcare Summit was held in a glass tower overlooking Lake Michigan, all sleek steel and polished ambition, the kind of place that made Detroit's grit feel a million miles away. The ballroom buzzed with suits, hospital execs, policy wonks, and non-profit types with lanyards and fake laughs. May Delaney stood at the edge of the room, her charcoal blazer itching at the collar, her badge reading May Delaney, Co-Director, Community Care Connect, St. Joseph's Hospital. The title felt like a lie, too big for her skin, but she squared her shoulders, clutching her note cards like a lifeline. She was here to speak, to sell a program she barely believed she could lead, and the weight of it was crushing. Graham Whitaker wasn't here yet. His keynote was after lunch, leaving May to navigate this shark tank alone. She poured coffee at the refreshment table, the bitter steam grounding her, when a voice cut through the hum. Didn't expect a floor nurse in the director lineup. May turned to see a woman in her 50s, sharp glasses, sharper smile, her badge reading Dr. Helen Voss, Mercy Health. You must be quite the exception. May's jaw tightened, but she kept her voice even. I was invited. Dr. Voss. Guess they're shaking things up. She poured cream, her hand steady despite the jab. Voss's brows lifted. Rare for someone to skip the admin trenches. Takes a special connection. Her eyes flicked to May's badge, then away. The implication clear. May didn't bite, just sipped her coffee, letting the burn distract her from the urge to snap. She was here for Lila, for Ruby, for every patient who'd ever been a number on a chart. She wouldn't let some suit rattle her. The panel room was packed, rows of chairs filled with people who looked like they'd never seen the inside of an ER. May sat between two public health PhDs, her note cards damp from her sweaty palms. When the moderator called her name, she stood, her knees wobbling but her voice steady. I'm May Delaney, she started. And I'm not here to sell you stats or buzzwords. I'm here to talk about people like Lila Carter, a 16-year-old in Detroit with a bad heart and a worse deal. She's not a case study. She's a kid who's scared, whose mom can't read discharge papers because she's working 2 jobs, whose school calls her sick girl because kids are cruel. The room leaned in, pens scratching, eyes narrowing. May's voice grew stronger, her note cards forgotten. Lila needed someone to translate the fear, to fight for her when the system didn't. That's what Community Care Connect does. It meets people where they are, not where we think they should be. Care doesn't end when the chart's signed. It starts when we stop assuming people can survive alone. She paused, her eyes scanning the crowd. Lila's why I'm here. Who's your Lila? The applause was slow, then thunderous, a wave that hit May like a physical force. She sat, her heart pounding, barely hearing the next speaker. Graham was at the back, arms crossed, his eyes locked on her, a quiet pride in his gaze. She'd done it, nailed the speech, made them listen. But as she stepped off the stage, a donor in a pinstripe suit cornered her. Inspiring. Ms. Delaney, he said, his smile all teeth. But how's a nurse gonna run $1 million program? Passion's nice, but results take experience. May's gut twisted, but she held his gaze. Experience. I've got 12 years of holding hands through codes, talking down panicked families, and stretching budgets thinner than you'd believe. Lila's alive because I saw what others missed. That's the result you're getting. The donor blinked, then nodded, muttering something about impressive. May walked away, her hands shaking, but her head high. That night, on the hotel's terrace, the Chicago skyline glittered like a promise. May leaned on the railing, the lake breeze cooling her skin, when Graham joined her. You were incredible, he said, his voice low, his tux jacket slung over his shoulder. You didn't just speak. You changed the room. She turned, her eyes meeting his. I forgot half my notes. Nearly threw up. Her laugh was shaky, but real. You didn't need them, he said, stepping closer. You made them feel it. His hand brushed hers on the railing, a touch so light it could have been an accident. But it wasn't, and they both knew it. For a moment, they stood there, the city's hum fading, their breath the only sound. A photographer snapped a picture from the ballroom, the flash breaking the spell. May pulled back, her heart racing, knowing that photo would haunt her. Back in Detroit, the fallout hit like a freight train. The photo, May and Graham on the terrace, hands touching, heads close, landed on the hospital's intranet by Monday. Captioned, "St. Joe's new power couple whispers turned to shouts." Nurses at the station stopped talking when May walked by. A resident muttered, "Sleeping her way up." "Huh," loud enough to sting. Tammy and Gwen, her face smug, said to Sarah in the med room, "Told you. One dance, one trip, and she's running the show." May ignored it, focusing on Lila, who was recovering but fragile. In Lila's room, the kid grinned, her notebook open. "Saw your speech on YouTube," Lila said. "You kicked ass." May made me want to write my own story. May smiled, adjusting Lila's IV. "You will, kid. Just keep being you." But Lila's words couldn't drown out the noise. At home, Ruby was worse. She'd overheard kids at school talking about May's doctor boyfriend, and it broke something. May found her in her room, tearing up a drawing of them together. "You're always gone," Ruby yelled, her small face red. "Now everyone's laughing at us." May knelt, pulling Ruby close, her heart shattering. "I'm not gone, baby. I'm right here. I'm doing this for us." But Ruby pushed her away, running to her bed, to her. May sat on the floor, the torn drawing in her hands, tears burning her eyes. She'd promised pizza night, but a code had kept her late. She was failing, and it hurt worse than any whisper. The real storm hit Wednesday. Dean Carlton called a board meeting, and May's name was on the agenda. She'd heard rumors Dean wanted to cut Community Care Connect's funding, calling it too costly. Worse, Tammy had leaked an email from Dean to a donor, bragging about using the program to secure votes for the hospital director role, with no plan to sustain it. May found the email in her inbox, forwarded anonymously, and her blood ran cold. This was her shot to fight, but it had cost someone else. In the boardroom, the air was thick with tension, the long table gleaming under fluorescent lights. Dean sat at the head, his gray suit crisp, his smile a mask. Eva Monroe was beside him, her expression unreadable. The board mostly older men. A few women shuffled papers, their eyes on May as she stood by the wall. Not at the table. Graham wasn't there, stuck in surgery, and May felt exposed, like a deer in a hunter's scope. Dean cleared his throat. "We've had significant attention on Community Care Connect, thanks to Ms. Delaney's enthusiasm. But we believe transitioning leadership to Dr. Monroe will ensure long-term stability." His voice was smooth, but his eyes were knives. May's heart stopped. This wasn't a demotion, it was erasure. Eva nodded, her voice calm. "I support the program's mission. I'm simply stepping in where needed." May stepped forward, her voice cutting through the room. "No one asked me." Every head turned, the silence heavy. No one asked the staff, the patients, or the families we serve. But they're speaking through outcomes, letters, lives. You want to talk stability? I stayed up nights building this, sat with grieving parents while you slept. This program's mine. Dean raised a hand, his smile tightening. "Ms. Delaney, this isn't personal." "Bullshit," May said, her voice low but fierce. It's personal, because I put my name on it, and I've got proof you don't give a damn about it. She pulled out her phone, projecting the leaked email onto the screen. The room gasped as Dean's words glowed. Community care's a goldmine for votes. We'll phase it out once I'm director. Dean's face went white, his voice rising. This is out of line. Delaney, no. May said, her eyes locked on his. You are. You want to cut this program to pad your resume over my dead body. She turned to the board. You've got the numbers. Patient satisfaction up 17%. Follow-through doubled. That's not Eva. That's me. The room was a powder keg. Board members shifting, whispering. Eva's calm cracked, her eyes flicking to Dean. Before anyone could speak, the door opened. Patrice slipped in, holding a letter. From Lila Carter, she said, handing it to May. She wanted you to have this. May's hands trembled as she read aloud. May Delaney saved me. Not just my heart, but my hope. She's the only one who saw me. Don't take her away. Her voice broke, and the room fell silent. Lila's words heavier than any email. Dean recovered, his voice cold. This is emotional. But we need pragmatism. Dr. Monroe. Dr. Monroe's not the one who built this. A board member interrupted. An older woman with steel-gray hair. Ms. Delaney's numbers speak. So does that letter. We'll review this further. May exhaled, her legs weak, but the victory was tainted. As the meeting ended, she learned Tammy had been suspended for leaking the email. Guilt hit hard. Tammy was a pain. But she didn't deserve this. May found her in the locker room, packing her bag. Tammy, I didn't ask you to do that, May said, her voice low. Tammy glared, her eyes wet. Yeah. Well, I thought it'd help. Guess I'm the idiot now. She stormed out, leaving May with a pit in her stomach. That night, May sat in Ruby's room, watching her sleep. The torn drawing taped back together on the wall. She'd won a battle. But at what cost Ruby's anger, Tammy's suspension, the whispers they were all collateral damage. Her phone buzzed a text from Graham Hurd about the meeting. You were fearless. We need to talk. May didn't reply, too raw to face him. The photo from Chicago, the email, Lila's letter. It was all too much. She pulled out Lila's notebook, left on her desk after a visit. A new entry read, May's not just a nurse. She's a fighter. I want to be like her. May's eyes stung, a tear falling. She was fighting. But for who? Ruby Lila herself. Or was she just swinging at shadows? The break room at St. Joseph's Hospital was a sanctuary of sorts. A grimy oasis where the fluorescent lights buzzed like a hungover wasp, and the coffee maker coughed up sludge that could strip paint. It was Wednesday evening, a week after May Delaney's showdown in the boardroom, and the air in Detroit was thick with the promise of snow. The city's pulse slowing under a gray sky. May sat alone at the chipped formica table, her navy scrubs wrinkled, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea long gone cold. Her phone lay face down beside her, buzzing with notifications she couldn't bring herself to check. The leaked email, Tammy's suspension, Ruby's anger, It was all a weight she couldn't shake, like a backpack stuffed with bricks. The hospital was quieter tonight. The ER's usual chaos dialed down to a low hum of beeps and murmured voices. But inside May, the storm hadn't stopped. She'd won a battle. Sure, keeping Community Care Connect alive with Lila Carter's letter and Dean Carlton's own words turned against him. But victory tasted bitter when Tammy was out of a job, and Ruby barely looked at her. And Graham Whitaker. His text from last week. "You were fearless. We need to talk" still sat unanswered. A question mark she wasn't ready to face. The door creaked open, and Patrice Jackson sauntered in, her braids pulled back, her eyes sharp despite the 12-hour shift. "Girl, you look like you're planning a funeral," Patrice said, grabbing a granola bar from the vending machine. "Your own or someone else's?" May managed a half smile, stirring her tea. "Feels like mine. Tammy's gone. Ruby's pissed. And I'm pretty sure half the hospital thinks I'm a homewrecker or a snitch." Patrice snorted, sliding into the chair across from her. "Let 'em think what they want. You shook the damn tree. May. That's what happens. Apples fall, and some of 'em are rotten. Tammy made her choice. You didn't push her." "Didn't I?" May's voice was low, raw. "She leaked that email for me. Patrice, now she's out, and I'm still here. Playing hero. Doesn't feel right." Patrice leaned forward, her voice firm. "You didn't ask her to play Robin Hood. She did that shit herself. And Ruby, she's 8. She'll come around. You're a good mom, even when you're drowning." May's throat tightened, her eyes dropping to her mug. "I don't know if I'm drowning or just sinking slow." She paused, then added, "And Whitaker, he's got me all twisted up. I don't know what he wants." Patrice raised an eyebrow, unwrapping her granola bar. "Oh, I think you know exactly what he wants. Question is, what do you want? 'Cause that man's not just handing you a program, he's handing you a chance to be seen, and that scares the hell out of you." Before May could answer, her phone buzzed again, louder this time. She flipped it over, frowning at the notification a TikTok tagged with her name. "What the?" She opened the app, and her heart stopped. It was Lila Carter, sitting in her hospital bed, oxygen tube gone, her chestnut curls loose. The caption read, "Why May Delaney's my hero, at Community Care Connect, S to Joe's." Lila's voice filled the room, tinny but fierce. "Hey, I'm Lila, 16. And I got a janky heart that keeps trying to quit on me. But there's this nurse, May Delaney, who never quit. She sat with me when I was scared, told me I'm more than my disease. She's fighting for a program at St. Joe's that helps people like me kids, moms, folks who get lost in the system. They're trying to shut it down. But May's not backing off, so neither should you. Share this. Save something real." The video ended with Lila holding up her notebook, a drawing of May in scrubs, a heart above her head. May's breath caught, her eyes stinging. The video had 10,000 views in an hour, comments flooding in. "This is why nurses matter. Save this program. May's a badass." Patrice whistled low. "Well, damn. That kid just lit a fire under this hospital's ass." May shook her head, overwhelmed. She didn't have to do that. She's supposed to be resting, not this. But deep down, something sparked pride, hope, a flicker of fight she'd thought was gone. By morning, Lila's video had hit 50,000 views, shared by local news and even a Detroit City Council member. The hospital's intranet was buzzing, not with whispers, but with real talk staff posting about patients helped by Community Care Connect, families emailing support. May walked through the halls, her sneakers squeaking, and for the first time in weeks, people met her eyes. A janitor gave her a nod. A resident said, "Nice work, Delaney." It wasn't universal. Some nurses still turned away, their silence loud, but the tide was shifting. In Lila's room, May found her scrolling her phone, a grin splitting her face. "You're viral," May Lila said, her voice stronger now. "Told you you're a big deal." May crossed her arms, mock stern. "And I told you to rest, not start a revolution. You trying to give me a heart attack?" Lila laughed, then sobered. "I had to. You're fighting for us. I wanted to fight for you." She handed May her notebook. Open to a new page. May's not just a nurse. She's a fighter. I want to be like her. May's eyes blurred, and she hugged Lila tight, whispering, "You're already there, kid." But the victory was fragile. Tammy's suspension hung over May like a storm cloud. She tracked her down at a diner near Hamtramck, a greasy spoon where the coffee was better than St. Joe's and the jukebox played Motown. Tammy sat in a corner booth, her hair in a messy bun, her eyes red. "What do you want?" May she said, not looking up from her fries. "Come to gloat." May slid into the booth, her voice low. "I'm sorry. Tammy, I didn't know you'd get suspended. I didn't ask you to leak that email." Tammy scoffed, shoving a fry away. "Yeah. Well, I thought it'd help. Thought maybe you'd see me. Not just Whitaker's shiny new toy." "Stupid." "Huh?" May's chest ached. "You're not stupid. You're a good nurse. I should have seen you were hurting. Come back. I'll talk to Carlton. Get you on the program." Tammy's eyes flicked up, wary. "Why? So you can look like the saint, no?" May said, firm. "Because we need you. I need you. We're better together." She held Tammy's gaze, and after a long moment, Tammy nodded, a ghost of a smile breaking through. "Fine," she said, "but don't expect me to hug you or some shit." May laughed, the sound easing the knot in her gut. "Deal." That afternoon, May was charting when Dr. Eva Monroe appeared at the nurse's station, her white coat crisp, her expression unreadable. A word. "Ms. Delaney," Eva said, gesturing to an empty exam room. May braced herself, following her inside, the door clicking shut like a guillotine. Eva leaned against the counter, her arms crossed. "You surprised me," she said, her voice softer than May expected. "That video. The boardroom, you're not what I thought." May raised an eyebrow, guarded. "And what did you think? Some nurse riding Whitaker's coattails?" Eva's lips twitched, almost a smile. "Something like that. But I was wrong." "Not entirely, but enough." She paused, her eyes dropping. "I've spent 20 years building my place here. May, men like Carlton, Whitaker, they overlook women like us until they're intrigued. I thought you were a threat. I was scared." May blinked, caught off guard, scared of me, of losing what I fought for. Eva said, her voice raw. I'm 46. The board's already eyeing younger faces. You're not just climbing, you're skipping steps. It's not fair. But it's not your fault either. May exhaled, the fight draining out of her. I don't want your job, Eva. I just want my voice to matter. Eva nodded, her eyes meeting May's. It does now. Keep it. She turned to leave, then added, Don't trust Carlton. He's not done. The door closed, and May stood there, stunned, a fragile truce settling between them. Graham found her later in the hospital's courtyard, a scrappy patch of grass and benches where staff hid from the chaos. May was flipping through Lila's notebook, the cold biting her fingers. He sat beside her, his coat open, his breath visible in the air. Heard about the video, he said, his voice low. Lila's got a hell of a spark, like someone else I know. May smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She's braver than me. I'm just trying to keep up. She paused, then added, I saw Eva. She's not what I thought. Graham nodded, his eyes on the horizon. She's protective, sees you as a disruption. But you're more than that. May, you're a shift. He turned to her, his gaze intense. I owe you an apology. I pushed you into this Chicago, the program without asking. I didn't see how it'd hurt you. May's heart twisted, his honesty disarming. You didn't hurt me, Graham. The system did. The whispers did. But you're the only one who saw me when I was invisible. He reached for her hand, his fingers warm against hers. I'm not just seeing you, May. I'm here for you. I'm here. His voice dropped, and she felt it, that pull. Stronger now, undeniable. But before she could speak, her phone buzzed. It was Ruby's school. Hold on, she said, stepping away, her pulse spiking. Hello? The teacher's voice was calm but urgent. Ruby's okay, but she ran off to a neighbor's after school, said she didn't want to be home alone. May's stomach dropped. I'm coming. She hung up, turning to Graham, her voice shaking. I gotta go. Ruby, I screwed up. I'll drive, he said, standing. You're not doing this alone. She didn't argue, too raw to fight his kindness. At the neighbor's, Ruby was curled on the couch, her backpack clutched tight. May knelt beside her, her voice soft. Baby, I'm here. I'm so sorry. Ruby's eyes were wet, her voice small. You're always gone. Mom, I thought you didn't want me. The words cut deeper than any boardroom jab. May pulled her close, tears falling. You're my everything, Ruby. I'm gonna fix this. Okay, no more broken promises. Ruby nodded, and May held her, vowing to make it right. Graham waited outside, his car idling. When May emerged, Ruby asleep in her arms, he opened the door. "She okay?" he asked, his voice gentle. "For now," May said, buckling Ruby in. "But I've got to do better." She looked at him, raw and open. "Thanks for being here. Always," he said, and the word felt like a promise. That night, May sat in her apartment, Ruby asleep, the city's hum filtering through the window. Graham had texted dinner tomorrow, just us. She didn't reply, but her finger traced the chihuahua he'd given her in her mind, a key to his place, to a future she wasn't sure she could claim. Lila's video played on her phone, the views now at 100,000. The board was reconsidering funding, pressured by the public. Tammy was back. Thanks to May's plea, Eva had stepped back, if only an inch. But Dean Carlton was still out there, and May knew he wasn't done. She opened Lila's notebook, reading May's a fighter. She closed it, her heart steady. She wasn't just fighting for Lila or Ruby anymore. She was fighting for herself. The courtyard at St. Joseph's Hospital was alive with color, a rare burst of warmth against Detroit's late November chill. Blue and gold banners flapped in the breeze, proclaiming the launch of the Delaney Family Health Fund, their letters bold under the pale sun. Tables groaned with donuts and coffee. Nurses and scrubs mingled with patients' families, and kids darted around, clutching stickers shaped like hearts. The air smelled of cinnamon and hope, a stark contrast to the hospital's usual antiseptic bite. May Delaney stood at the edge of the chaos, her navy coat buttoned tight, her breath visible in the crisp air. She wasn't just a nurse today, she was the face of something bigger. And the weight of it felt like a crown she wasn't sure she'd earned. 3 months had passed since Lila Carter's TikTok video turned the tide, its million views forcing St. Joe's board to fully fund Community Care Connect and establish the new fund in May's name. It was a donor-backed initiative for transportation, nutrition, and mental health support, real help for people like Lila, who'd fought to be seen, and Ruby, who'd taught May what mattered most. But standing here, watching the crowd swell, May felt a knot in her chest. She'd come so far from that break room nap, from whispers and doubt. But the scars lingered. Could she really do this? Lead, love, be enough? Patrice Jackson sidled up, her braids tucked under a knit cap, a coffee in hand. "Look at you, running a whole damn circus," she said, grinning. "You nervous, superstar?" May snorted, shoving her hands in her pockets. "Nervous. Try terrified. Half these people probably still think I'm Whitaker's side piece." Patrice laughed, sharp and warm. "Let 'em think what they want. You built this, May. Not him, not Carlton, not nobody. You." She nodded toward this crowd, where Lila Carter, now stronger, was handing out flyers with Ruby at her side. "Those kids, they're your legacy. Own it." May's eyes softened, watching Ruby, 8 and fierce, pin a sticker on a boy's jacket, her curls bouncing. Lila, 16, laughed beside her, her notebook tucked under her arm. They were a team. Proof that May's fight wasn't just for her. She exhaled, the knot loosening a fraction. "Thanks. Patrice. Don't know what I'd do without you. Crash and burn. Probably." Patrice teased, nudging her. "Now go make that speech. They're waiting." The podium was simple. wood scuffed from years of use. But it felt like a mountain as May stepped up. The crowd quieted, their eyes on her nurses, doctors, patients, even a few board members who'd doubted her. Dean Carlton was absent, his influence dimmed after the email leak, though May knew he was still scheming somewhere. Dr. Eva Monroe stood near the back, her expression neutral, but not hostile, a silent nod to their truce. And there, by the mobile clinic van, was Dr. Graham Whitaker, his coat open, his dark hair catching the light. He didn't smile, but his eyes held hers, steady as a heartbeat. May gripped the mic, her voice rough but clear. "Hey, everyone," she started, the Detroit wind tugging at her words. "I'm May Delaney, and I'm not big on speeches. Hell, a year ago, I was just trying to stay awake in the break room, hoping nobody'd write me up." A ripple of laughter broke the tension, and she relaxed, her shoulders easing. "I came to St. Joe's to do my job, keep people alive, get home to my kid, pay the bills. But life doesn't let you stay small. Trouble finds you. And sometimes, you gotta fight back." The crowd leaned in, and May's voice grew stronger. "This fund, this program, it's not about me. It's about Lila Carter, who taught me courage. About my daughter, Ruby, who reminded me why I fight. About every patient who's ever been a number instead of a name. I used to think I had to be invisible to survive, but you saw me. Gave me a chance to build something real. And I'm not done yet." She paused, her eyes finding Ruby, who beamed from the crowd. "So, here's my promise to keep showing up, to keep fighting. Not just for me, but for you. Because care isn't a chart or a budget. It's a choice to see each other, to be the heart when the system's cold. Thank you for choosing me." Her voice cracked, and she stepped back, the applause roaring like a storm. Ruby ran up, throwing her arms around May's waist. "You're my superhero, Mom," she said, loud enough for the crowd to hear. Laughter and cheers erupted again, and May hugged her tight, tears falling freely now. Lila joined them, her grin wide. "Told you you're a big deal," she said, handing May a sticker. May laughed, pinning it to her coat, the heart bright against the navy. Later, as the crowd thinned, May found Graham by the van, handing a coffee to a patient's dad. He looked up, his smile small but real. "Hell of a speech." "Delaney," he said, his voice low. "You didn't just talk. You built a movement." May shrugged, her cheeks warm. "Just trying to keep up with Lila and Ruby. They're the real MVPs." She paused, then added, "Thanks for being here. Means a lot. Wouldn't miss it," he said, stepping closer. "You're not just changing St. Joe's. May, you're changing me." His eyes held hers, and for a moment, the courtyard faded, the world narrowing to them. But before she could speak, Ruby tugged her hand. "Mom, can we get donuts before they're gone?" Ruby asked. Her eyes wide, May laughed, the spell broken. "Go grab 2. Kiddo, 1 for Lila." Ruby darted off, and May turned back to Graham, her smile softer now. "She's my boss, you know." "I see that," he said, his voice warm. "I've got something to ask you. May, you and Ruby dinner this weekend. Not as colleagues, not as anything but us." May's heart skipped, his words landing like a spark. She studied him. The man who'd seen her when she was invisible, who'd fought beside her when she stood alone. "You sure?" she asked, her voice low. "Ruby's a tough critic. Once she likes you, you're stuck." Graham's smile widened, rare and unguarded. "I'm all in. Delaney, spaghetti stains and all." She nodded, a warmth spreading through her. "All right. Whitaker, dinner. But don't say I didn't warn you." That evening, May took Ruby to a diner in Hamtramck, the kind with cracked vinyl booths and a jukebox that only played Stevie Wonder. They split a plate of fries, Ruby dipping hers in ketchup, her chatter filling the space. "Mom, Lila says you're famous now," Ruby said, her eyes bright. "Are you going to be on TV?" May laughed. "Stealing a fry?" "No way, kid. I'm just a nurse who got loud." "You proud of me?" Ruby nodded, then hesitated, her voice small. "I'm sorry I got mad. I just missed you." May's throat tightened, and she reached across the table, squeezing Ruby's hand. "I missed you too, baby. We're a team, okay? Always." Ruby smiled, and May felt a piece of her heart slot back into place. Back home. May found a drawing on the fridge, her, Ruby, Lila, and Graham under a banner that read, "We help people." It was messy, the colors bleeding outside the lines, but it was honest. And it was enough. She taped it higher, a reminder of what she'd fought for. The next day, May was in her new office, a closet-sized room with a desk and a flickering light, when Tammy and Gwen knocked. "Heard you got me back," Tammy said, her voice gruff but grateful. "Why'd you do it?" "May, after all my shit?" May leaned back, her eyes steady. "Because you're good, Tammy, and we're stronger together. You in?" Tammy nodded, a rare smile breaking through. "Yeah, I'm in. Don't make me regret it." As Tammy left, May's phone buzzed an email from a Chicago hospital, inviting her to speak about Community Care Connect. "Your work's inspiring change," it read. May stared at it, her heart racing. The world was bigger than St. Joe's, and she was just starting. That weekend, Graham took May and Ruby to a park by the Detroit River, the skyline glinting in the distance. They ate hot dogs from a cart, Ruby chasing geese, Graham laughing in a way May hadn't heard before. As the sun set, painting the sky gold, Ruby ran ahead, and Graham turned to May, his hand finding hers. "You're something else, Delaney," he said, his voice low. "I didn't know I was looking for you until you showed up." May's breath caught, his words unraveling something she'd kept locked tight. She leaned in, her lips brushing his, soft and sure, the world fading to the warmth of him. When they pulled back, she smiled, her voice teasing. "Careful, Whitaker. You're stuck with us now." "Good," he said, his eyes bright. "I'm exactly where I want to be." Monday morning. May stood on the hospital's rooftop. The city sprawling below, its smokestacks and neon signs a map of her fight. The Delaney Family Health Fund was live, its mobile clinic already serving families, its staff nurses like Tammy, volunteers like Lila growing. Ruby was at school, her backpack stuffed with new drawings. Her trust slowly rebuilding. Graham was downstairs, prepping for surgery. His presence a quiet anchor. May's phone buzzed a text from Clara. Proud of you. Sis. Keep shaking shit up. She smiled, then opened the Chicago email again, her finger hovering over reply. She didn't answer. Not yet. The future was wide open. And for the first time, she wasn't scared to step into it. She looked down at the courtyard, where Lila and Ruby had stood, their laughter still echoing in her mind. This wasn't the end, it was a beginning. May Delaney wasn't just a nurse, a mom, or a fighter. She was all of it, and she was enough. If May's journey from the break room to the rooftop lit a fire in you, hit that subscribe button and drop a 1 in the comments. If you think she's got more battles to fight, give me a 2. Either way, tell me what this story means to you, because every fight, every heart deserves to be heard.